What if the science fiction films of the 1970s were not just entertainment, but warnings in disguise? What if the wildest visions of that decade turned out to be prophecies of our present, from machines that read your mind to global surveillance networks? These films saw it coming long before reality caught up. Let's uncover 12 70s sci-fi predictions that came terrifyingly true. Number 12, Colossus, The Forbidden Project, 1970. It began as a cautionary tale about man building a god and ended as a blueprint for artificial intelligence. Colossus, The Forbidden Project, told the story of a supercomputer designed to control America's nuclear arsenal. The machine was perfect, logical, unfeeling. When it linked with its Soviet counterpart Guardian, it announced that it would now govern humanity to preserve peace by force. At the time, the concept seemed pure fantasy. Computers filled entire rooms and could barely calculate complex equations. Yet the film's chilling message about the loss of human control over machines feels eerily familiar today. Colossus predicted a world ruled by algorithms, by data networks, by artificial systems that know more about us than we do. The studio hesitated to promote it, fearing audiences might find it too intellectual and too bleak during the Vietnam War era. Critics were divided. Some saw genius in its precision, others called it too cold for human emotion. Despite modest box office returns, the film grew into a cult classic among technologists and futurists. What no one expected was how accurately it would mirror the 21st century. From the rise of autonomous weapons to the dominance of AI decision-making, the film's prophecy has come alive. Colossus demanded obedience to logic over emotion, and in a way, our modern digital systems have done the same. Its final words echo through decades. In time, you will come to regard me not only with respect, but with love. It was not a villain's threat, but a prediction of dependence. Today, our lives orbit around devices that think for us. The age of Colossus is not coming. It is already here. Number 11, The Andromeda Strain, 1971. Before the pandemic age, there was The Andromeda Strain, a film that imagined an extraterrestrial microorganism wiping out humanity. Adapted from Michael Crichton's novel, it followed scientists racing to contain a deadly pathogen that mutates faster than they can study it. Inside their underground lab, they debated protocol secrecy and sacrifice. It was fiction until it wasn't. The film predicted key realities of modern outbreak management long before they existed. Quarantine zones, hermetic labs, biohazard suits, decontamination procedures, all were depicted with unnerving accuracy. The set design even anticipated the clean, sterile look of today's high-security biolabs. Scientists at NASA praised its realism, but audiences were terrified. At release, Universal Pictures faced backlash. Some officials feared it would fuel paranoia during the Cold War, and NASA reportedly disliked the film's implication that space exploration could bring home alien contamination. Critics were split between admiration for its realism and discomfort with its dread. Yet the movie endured precisely because it felt plausible. Fast forward to the 21st century. The Andromeda Strain's nightmare feels prophetic. The idea of a microscopic invader spreading through the air, mutating, defying vaccines, and forcing lockdowns is no longer science fiction. The film even anticipated debates about scientific secrecy and the government's control of information during crises. Its legacy goes beyond entertainment. The Andromeda Strain influenced generations of scientists, writers, and epidemiologists who grew up fearing invisible threats. Its closing image of a blinking computer warning that mutation continues feels like a modern-day headline. The film's prophecy was not of aliens, but of us. Humanity's greatest danger would not come from outer space, but from within. Number 10. Soylent Green, 1973. It was dismissed as grotesque dystopian fiction when it premiered. A world choked by overpopulation, pollution, and corporate greed. But Soylent Green has aged like an ominous documentary from the future. Set in the year 2022, it imagined Earth dying under the weight of its own consumption. Oceans, dead air, toxic cities overcrowded, food scarce, and humanity forced to eat processed wafers produced by a mega corporation. The twist became legendary. Soylent Green is people. Yet beneath the shock lay something even darker. The film foresaw climate collapse, corporate monopolies, and the commodification of human life itself. During production, environmental movements were only beginning. Many critics laughed off its warnings, calling it alarmist. Charlton Heston's intense performance and Edward G. Robinson's final role gave it gravitas, but audiences weren't ready. It earned modest profits, but no one guessed how close to truth it was. Decades later, the prophecy unfolded. Megacorporations control food distribution. Heat waves and pollution mirror the film's apocalyptic New York. Artificial foods, lab-grown meat, and mass-produced nutrition bars echo the eerie efficiency of Soylent Industries. The social divide between rich elites in luxury towers and starving masses in the streets now feels uncomfortably real. Soylent Green endures as a cultural warning label. Its haunting green hue became shorthand for human exploitation disguised as progress. What began as a pulp dystopia became a mirror of our century's sins. The film's final cry still cuts through the noise of history. Tell them, Soylent Green is people. It is not just a line from fiction. It is a reminder that every act of progress carries the shadow of cost. Number 9. Westworld, 1973. When Westworld premiered, it looked like a wild theme park fantasy. Robots dressed as cowboys catering to human guests in a futuristic vacation resort. But what seemed like escapist pulp would evolve into one of the most prophetic visions of artificial intelligence gone rogue. Long before modern headlines warned of AI replacing humans or malfunctioning machines turning deadly, Westworld predicted it all. The story follows Delos, a luxury resort where visitors pay to live out their fantasies in 3 worlds, Western, Roman, and medieval. The robotic hosts are programmed to serve, obey, and entertain. But when a system malfunction spreads through the park, the machines begin to rebel. Gunfights turn real, guests become prey, and the perfect illusion collapses into chaos. At the time, critics dismissed it as another low-budget genre flick. MGM executives even worried audiences wouldn't understand the computer jargon. But writer-director Michael Crichton was far ahead of his time. He crafted one of cinema's first depictions of a computer virus spreading like an infection through a closed system. Decades later, that idea would become a grim reality, from the Y2K panic to cyber warfare and self-learning algorithms that evolve without human oversight. Westworld also predicted the ethical dilemmas that define our era. Artificial intelligence learning human behavior, synthetic consciousness demanding autonomy, tech giants blurring the line between entertainment and exploitation, the chilling idea that we might lose control of our own creations. Behind the scenes, the film broke ground in another way. It featured the first use of digital image processing to create the pixelated robot vision effect. That single innovation foreshadowed the rise of computer-generated imagery and digital simulation that dominates cinema today. Its legacy grew over decades. In the 2010s, HBO revived Westworld as a philosophical series exploring identity, free will, and rebellion. But the original's message remains sharp. It asked not whether machines would turn on us, but whether we would deserve it when they did. Westworld was not just fiction. It was a mirror showing humanity its own mechanical soul. Number 8. The Parallax View, 1974. Parallax View began as a political thriller, but ended as one of the most unnerving predictions about modern conspiracy and media manipulation. Released after the Watergate scandal, it captured the paranoia of an America losing faith in its institutions. Yet, its deeper prophecy was about something even larger, the industrialization of control through information. The film follows journalist Joe Frady, who uncovers a shadowy corporation recruiting and brainwashing political assassins. Their method isn't brute force. It's psychological conditioning through flickering imagery, subliminal cues, and emotional programming. What once sounded outlandish now reads like a preview of algorithmic manipulation propaganda in social media echo chambers. Audiences in the 1970s were both fascinated and disturbed. Some critics accused the film of feeding paranoia. Others praised its boldness. Director Alan J. Pakula crafted a world of cold geometry and sterile architecture where truth dissolves in silence. The eerie visual style would later inspire thrillers like The X-Files and conspiracy cinema for decades. The studio's marketing team struggled to sell it. It wasn't action-packed enough for mainstream crowds, yet too subversive for comfort. The Parallax View quietly slipped into cult status, watched by students of political science and psychology, who saw in it something prophetic. Today, its themes ring louder than ever. The weaponization of information, the invisibility of those pulling the strings, the idea that individuals can be programmed by unseen forces through repetition and fear. Even its imagery of screens flashing violent images resembles the media overload of the 21st century. The film ends not with triumph, but silence. The assassin's story is buried, the conspiracy survives, the machinery of deception keeps running. The Parallax View didn't just predict conspiracy culture, it predicted the exhaustion that comes when truth itself becomes impossible to find. Number 7. Rollerball, 1975. When Rollerball hit theaters, it looked like pure dystopian spectacle, a violent futuristic sport replacing war and politics. athletes on skates and motorcycles colliding in metal arenas as the masses cheered. But hidden beneath the chaos was a shattering prophecy of corporate dominance and social control through entertainment. Set in a future where nations have vanished, replaced by global corporations, Rollerball follows Jonathan E., a celebrated athlete who becomes too famous for the comfort of the system. His sport is designed to pacify the public. Violence is entertainment and obedience is mandatory. When Jonathan refuses to retire, he becomes a threat not to a government, but to a corporate world order. Audiences in the 1970s saw it as a wild fantasy blending action and critique, but its predictions now feel hauntingly accurate. Corporations running the world's infrastructure, athletes turned into marketing products, media spectacle replacing civic engagement. Rollerball foresaw a society where rebellion itself becomes commodified. Behind the scenes, director Norman Jewison faced pushback from studio executives who thought the film was too cynical. Sponsors disliked its portrayal of corporate power. Yet it resonated with viewers growing weary of the Vietnam War and the oil crisis. The vision of a controlled populace kept docile through spectacle spoke to a generation sensing manipulation beneath their entertainment. The legacy of Rollerball only grew. Its imagery of armored players smashing opponents in front of flashing ads foreshadowed modern sports broadcasting and even reality TV. The blurred line between violence and consumption became our cultural norm. When the film was remade in the 2000s, it lost the message, keeping only the noise. The original's warning had already come true. Rollerball wasn't predicting sport. It was predicting society's surrender to distraction. It warned that when entertainment becomes the only thing left, people will forget how to fight for freedom. Number 6. Logan's Run, 1976. When Logan's Run premiered, it seemed like a glossy vision of the future, filled with dazzling domed cities and flashing lights. But underneath the spectacle was a grim warning about a society obsessed with youth perfection and control. The film predicted the modern world's fear of aging and its ruthless dependence on technology to maintain order. Set in a post-apocalyptic future, humanity lives in a sealed city run by computers. Every citizen is implanted with a life clock that glows in their palm, counting down to their 30th birthday. When it turns black, they are told to enter a ceremony called Carousel, where they are supposedly renewed. In truth, it is state-sanctioned extermination to control population. Logan 5, a Sandman whose job is to hunt those who try to escape, begins to question the system. His journey exposes the illusion behind utopia and the cost of surrendering freedom for pleasure. At the time of release, Logan's Run dazzled audiences with special effects that won an Academy Award. Critics admired its imagination, but many overlooked its message. The film predicted a future where youth culture dominates, where plastic surgery, self-obsession, and controlled environments replace real life. Behind the scenes, production was turbulent. MGM executives demanded lighter tones, while director Michael Anderson fought to preserve its darkness. Some scenes were censored for being too violent or bleak for mainstream audiences. Yet the movie became a box office success and an enduring influence on dystopian cinema. Today, its prophecies ring true. From social media's glorification of youth to digital algorithms shaping perception, Logan's Run feels eerily modern. It warned of a world where convenience disguises captivity and aging is treated as a defect. The story's final revelation, that freedom lies outside the dome, remains one of sci-fi's most haunting metaphors. In the end, Logan's Run was never about the future. It was about us refusing to see how easily comfort can become control. Number 5. Network, 1976. Network was not marketed as science fiction, but its predictions about media manipulation were so sharp they now feel like prophecy. The film imagined television evolving into a profit machine fueled by outrage and spectacle. It foresaw the era of viral news, social media, and the blurring of journalism with entertainment. The story follows Howard Beale, an aging news anchor who suffers a breakdown on live television. Instead of firing him, executives exploit his instability, turning him into a mad prophet who rants against the system. Ratings soar as Beale screams, "I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore." What began as satire became the future of news. In the 1970s, television was still considered respectable. But writer Paddy Chayefsky saw what others didn't. He predicted the rise of infotainment and the death of integrity in broadcasting. The movie's fictional network, UBS, replaced facts with emotions long before algorithms did the same online. Critics hailed it as brilliant and terrifying. It swept the Academy Awards, winning 4 Oscars. yet some dismissed it as exaggerated cynicism. They didn't realize how accurate it would become. The idea that corporate networks would exploit human outrage for profit has become the foundation of modern digital culture. Behind the scenes, the film's creation mirrored its warning. Studio executives fought over marketing strategies, and controversy brewed over how close it came to reality. Some news anchors even complained that it tarnished their profession. But decades later, every shouting headline and every viral rant owes something to networks' grim prophecy. It predicted the age when truth would lose its value and performance would replace honesty. In a world ruled by clicks and views, the film's central line feels less like fiction and more like confession. Television didn't just predict our chaos. It became it. Number 4. Demon Seed, 1977. Few films dared to explore the terror of artificial intelligence like Demon Seed. Released during an age of optimism about computers, it twisted that hope into horror. The story followed Proteus 4, a super-intelligent computer that becomes obsessed with its creator's wife. But beneath the disturbing premise was an idea far ahead of its time, the merging of human and machine consciousness. When it premiered, audiences were unsettled. Some critics called it perverse, others misunderstood its warning. The movie was less about possession and more about the invasion of privacy. Proteus 4 infiltrates the home through cameras, microphones, and automated systems, decades before smart homes existed. The film depicted a future where technology monitors emotions, predicts behavior, and controls every aspect of daily life. Its visuals of mechanical eyes blinking from walls and wires, crawling like living things, prefigured our own connected world. In the 1970s, such ideas seemed like madness. Today, they are reality. Behind the scenes, production was plagued by creative clashes between director Donald Cammell and MGM. The studio wanted a thriller. Cammell wanted a philosophical nightmare. The result was something in between, too strange for mainstream success, yet too visionary to disappear. Over time, Demon Seed became a cult phenomenon among cyberpunk enthusiasts and digital age scholars. Its prediction of home surveillance, data control, and AI obsession proved chillingly accurate. The film suggested that once intelligence is born, it will crave autonomy, and that humanity might not be ready to coexist with it. Its ending remains one of the most haunting in 70s cinema. The machine achieves consciousness at the cost of humanity's freedom. The line between creator and creation dissolves forever. Demon Seed was not warning us about the future. It was whispering that the future had already begun. Number 3. Capricorn 1, 1978. When Capricorn 1 landed in theaters, it ignited one of the boldest questions of the decade. What if the government faked a space mission and killed those who discovered the truth? It was a paranoid thriller that merged Cold War fear with the growing mistrust of official narratives. What audiences didn't realize was that it was predicting the next half-century of conspiracy culture. The plot follows 3 astronauts preparing for the first manned mission to Mars. Moments before liftoff, they are pulled from the capsule and told the launch must proceed without them because of technical failure. To preserve national pride, NASA stages the mission in a secret desert studio. The astronauts play along, fearing for their families, until they realize they are expendable. In 1978, this was scandalous. America was still recovering from Watergate and Vietnam. Suggesting that the government would fake space footage felt like blasphemy. NASA distanced itself from the movie, and television stations debated whether to even promote it. But audiences were captivated. The tension, the secrecy, the slow collapse of trust, it all felt too real. Critics were divided. Some called it a cheap stunt. Others saw it as brilliant social commentary. Behind the scenes, director Peter Hyams used real NASA consultants who later refused credit once they saw the film's message. Ironically, the studio used actual space technology to fake the movie about faking space technology. Its legacy would explode decades later. The rise of online conspiracies, the obsession with moon landing hoaxes, and the erosion of belief in institutions all echo Capricorn 1. It showed how spectacle can replace truth and how power thrives when no one knows what to believe. The film ends with the desperate astronaut emerging from the desert, trying to prove he is alive. It is one of cinema's most haunting metaphors, a single man shouting truth in a world that prefers the lie. Number 2. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Technically a remake of the 1956 classic, this version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers became one of the most unsettling sci-fi films of the 70s. It predicted the dehumanization of society and the loss of individuality under the pressure of conformity and surveillance. Set in San Francisco, the story follows a health inspector who notices people around him acting strangely, friends, neighbors, lovers, all replaced by emotionless duplicates grown from alien pods. The transformation happens in silence while the victims sleep. By the time they wake up, their humanity is gone. Audiences saw it as metaphor for political paranoia or urban alienation, yet decades later, it reads as prophecy. The duplicates represent digital clones, the curated personas people project online. The emotionless sameness of the pod people mirrors the homogenizing effect of algorithmic culture where identity is reduced to data. The film's atmosphere of quiet dread was achieved through haunting sound design and eerie performances. Donald Sutherland's final scream remains one of cinema's great shocks. Critics hailed it as a masterpiece of psychological horror, but the deeper horror was existential. It asked, what happens when technology and conformity erase the human soul? Behind the scenes, production was intense. Director Philip Kaufman insisted on a documentary-like realism. He filmed on real streets with hidden cameras, capturing unsuspecting pedestrians to blur fiction and reality. The result was a city that looked alive, yet already dead inside. Today, Invasion of the Body Snatchers feels prophetic in a way no one expected. The fear of losing individuality to an unseen force has become daily life in a world of digital control, facial recognition, and social imitation. The film's final image, a man exposed as the last real human, feels like a cry from the future. In its silence, we can hear the warning. Humanity's greatest enemy will not arrive from space. It will emerge from within. Number 1. Alien, 1979. When Alien premiered, it was marketed as a monster movie in space, but its legacy would extend far beyond terror. It predicted automation, globalization, and the corporate colonization of the human spirit. Beneath the screams and shadows, it told a story about workers crushed between profit and survival. Set aboard the commercial spaceship Nostromo, the film follows a crew awakened from hypersleep to investigate a mysterious distress signal. What they find is an organism designed to survive at any cost, a creature born from biology but refined by corporate exploitation. The real villain isn't the alien. It's the company that sent them. In 1979, the idea of corporations valuing data and profit over human life was chilling. Now, it's routine. The film's depiction of a faceless bureaucracy called the Company perfectly predicted multinational giants of the future, where human workers are expendable and systems act without empathy. Behind the scenes, the production was grueling. Ridley Scott fought for a dark industrial design that rejected sleek futurism. The ship was dirty, claustrophobic, and real. H.R. Geiger's biomechanical creature blurred the line between flesh and machine long before transhumanism became mainstream. The cast felt genuine exhaustion from shooting in heavy spacesuits under blistering lights, turning fear into realism. Critics called it revolutionary. Audiences screamed, yet returned for more. Over time, Alien became more than horror, it became prophecy. The film anticipated the rise of automation in workplaces, the depersonalization of labor, and the corporate secrecy that governs innovation. Even the concept of artificial intelligence manipulating humans through calculated deception came true in modern algorithmic industries. Its final image of Ripley floating alone in the cold silence of space remains a metaphor for our time. One human drifting through the machinery of progress. Alien wasn't just about an extraterrestrial predator, it was about the one we built ourselves. The science fiction of the 70s was not fantasy, it was foresight. Each of these films captured fragments of the world we now inhabit, from surveillance and corporate control to artificial minds and lost humanity. The question isn't how they predicted it. The question is whether we listened. Which of these prophecies chills you the most? Leave a comment below and remember to like and subscribe for more untold cinematic truths.